Hello and welcome back to Lost Odyssey. We've just kidnapped a queen, and we're off to commandeer a boat. I don't know, is commandeer the right word here? It's more like steal, but for a good cause. Just gonna run through here real quick and check for treasure. Sweet, sweet treasure. Okay, there's no sweet, sweet treasure. So I'm guessing that building's where we gotta go. Because there's people talking. It's a good enough indicator for me. Is that... It's clearly some other kind of race, but I can't make out what it is. Looks neat, though.
おい、どうしたんだよ。
ちょっと。
Oh, they're little goblin people. I can't decide if those are supposed to be goggles or like sawed-off horn spots.
あのエンジン、どこで手に入れた？
ああ、これはいつだったかな。浜にとてつもなくでっかい魚が打ち上げられたことがあってね、そいつの腹の中から出てきたんだ。調べてみたらものすごい出力が出ることが分かったんですよ。それで修理して搭載することになったんです。
修理って直せたのか？
なんとか。あの快速艇はカカナ将軍の司令船として建造されたものでして、あとは搭載するだけです。
そう、ありがとう。
いいえ。
でっかい魚か。あの時の。
思い出すことがあるのか。
ずいぶん世話になってね。
世話になったってのは魚にかエンジンにか。
エンジンだよ。昔々海賊やってた頃の話。
セス海賊だったの？
うん、そう。
わあ、すごいかっこいい。
え？
私そういうのすっごい憧れで、海賊とか剣士とかかっこいい女の人って大好きで、昔からそういう本ばっかり読んでたんだ。だから本物の女海賊に会えるなんて感動で、つまり話がその弟子にしてほしいの。そうなんだ。というわけでセス、マスターセス、弟子にしてください。
人参の取り付けは完了したとカカナ将軍に伝えろ。試運転の時には呼べと言っておられたからな。見ろ、誰かいる。
おーい皆さん、そろそろパーティーの時間ですよ。
何をしている。オリオカカナ将軍に連絡しろ。急げ。はい。お前たちは何者だ。
皆さんカカナ将軍様によろしくお伝えください。どうぞ。どこから手つけりゃいいんだこれ。
素人はどいてて。行くよ。エンジン始動。出航。
Slant nose? Whatever, it's cool. So I assume I want to go this way, towards that. Is that a map marker? It's just the shape of that little inlet. Just in case the enemies here are much tougher than I am. Ooh, crabs. Can I interact with crab? No. No crab for me.
とろい連中だね。
This isn't gonna go well. I just assumed because I've seen this monster before. Yeah, that's gone rather badly. We tried so hard, and we got pretty far. In the end, I'm not too sure that it mattered. Alright, so the Numaran Atoll may be a little bit beyond me right now. Skoshi. So, I shall depart. How do I see the world map? I guess there's places just a little bit north of me, but also to the east there's that one that's glowing white. Which is probably the one I want. If I'd been paying more attention. Calling this shit the slant nose. That just feels like some kind of ethnic slur. Not a fan.
スラントノーズは沈まないよ。キャプテンのエンジン積んでたぞ。
黙って聞いてる生意気なことばっかり抜かしやがって。海賊の流儀っても教えてやる。覚悟しな。
それで流儀とは？
いや、そのなんていうか、この言葉のはあやでして。あ、おじい様。お孫さんの海賊デビューの俺にはぜひご連絡を。
何を言われているのかわからんな。
つまりはクックちゃんがとってもいい子ってことですよ。いや、ほんと。
嘘さ。
クック蹴飛ばしたら痛いよ。
だってこいつキャプテンに失礼なんだよ。ね、キャプテン。キャプテン？生徒？
Please don't. She can't have 1,000 dreams, can she? 10,000 dreams? Aw, shit. I can open my seltzer. O wondrous beast Anera, proud descendant of the white-winged clan, you alone were my irreplaceable companion. Would it anger you to hear me call us two of a kind? Were we not, in fact, a perfect combination, you and I? Bound together by a single thread, that gossamer thread we know is loneliness. Anera, I owe my life to you. Not, of course, that you saved my life in the ordinary sense of the word. Mine is not a life that can be lost under any circumstances. It is an irrevocable burden. Irrevocable? I like irrevocable for that one. Right there, it's good. I will not die. I cannot die. And therefore, my life was not yours to save. Not for you to save, whatever. Oh, Anera, what you saved, I now see, was not my life, but my heart. Back then, long centuries ago, I was a pirate, the only woman pirate on the open seas. Seth Balmore. That name was known to all who plied the sea. Some spoke my name in fear and trembling, while others voiced it with deepest admiration. Some even called me the Righteous Buccaneer. Nor were they far wrong, I'd say. Nobody thinks they're a bad buccaneer. The pirate ships I commanded had rules that were clear and strict. We targeted only one kind of vessel, those opulent passenger ships the wealthy boarded for pleasure cruises. We would put a bit of scare into the passengers, of course, maybe rough them up a little, but killing was strictly forbidden. All we did was squeeze a few drops of treasure out of the purses of those who had more money than they knew what to do with. We traded our booty for cash with shadowy dealers, and the money we shared in the world's dens of poverty. I would cringe at being called a champion of justice, but we prided ourselves on being more than villains. I became a pirate for one simple reason. I hated the law, and I hated even more those who flaunted the law for their own self-aggrandizement. In a word, I wanted a life of freedom. That's not one word, but whatever. Whenever I stood at the prow of a pirate ship slicing its way through the waves, and I viewed the vast ocean stretched out beneath the clear blue sky, I felt enveloped in the joy of having taken limitless freedom in my own two hands. True, I need not traffic in the fear of death and aging known to all who count as human. Because I will neither age nor die, infinite time means for me infinite freedom. Not bad, wouldn't you say? I would spy the ship that would be our day's quarry. I was always the first aboard it, springing lightly onto their deck with a shout, "I am Seth Balmore. Now be good and hand over your money and valuables." Then, taking the booty we had snatched, my men and I would raise a cry of victory and leap back into our ship. I was absolutely free. Nothing stood in my way. Eternal life overflowing with freedom. Not bad, wouldn't you say? I feel like I got up. There we go. Pardon. Righteous Buccaneer. What kind of fancy pants nonsense is that? How about pirate bitch? Don't love saying that word, but it was there. Of course, one always hears such jealous ravings in all walks of life, but especially so in the thuggish world of pirates. Needless to say, I knew I had many enemies. Even a child would realize that being called a righteous buccaneer could only increase the number who hated me among such raping and pillaging brigands as pirates of the sea. But I didn't care about that. I could be stabbed with a knife or blasted with a cannon, and still I would not die. Immortal Seth, they called me, and it was literally true, not just a figure of speech. I won't get in your way, I told the other pirates, but I won't let you get in mine either. I was afraid of nothing and no one. I lived the way I wanted to live, and wouldn't, or shouldn't have, let anyone interfere with me. I went wrong only once, but that was all it took. In a moment of carelessness, I let them capture me. Of course, that alone was nothing for me to be afraid of. As I keep mentioning, I can never age or die. It would have done them no good to try killing me, and they knew it. The most they could do would be to rough me up a little and threaten to make it worse for me next time. They had to do something to show their men how tough they were. They couldn't just let me horn in on the pirate game and pretend it never happened. So I said, "Hurry up with the torture, will ya? I haven't got all day." We were in a cave on a desert island. I was in handcuffs and leg irons and surrounded by half a dozen huge men, all well-known pirate captains. One of them was holding a long, thick chain. I get so sick to my stomach just looking at your sweaty faces. Come on, hurry up and beat me with a chain. Would you rather strangle me? Whichever you choose. Hurry and get it over with. The men laughed out loud. "Hurry and get it over with," said the leader. "Too bad for you, Seth, but this punishment is not the kind that can be hurried. I'm just sorry we can't stay with you to the end." "Yeah," chimed in another man. "Unlike a monster like you, we humans don't have all the time in the world." "Okay, men, let's make it fast, the way the lady wants." Licking his lips, the man with the chain approached me, and two others grabbed my arms from the sides. They were not going to use the chain as an instrument of torture, but to rob me of my liberty. They chained me to a gigantic boulder in the cave. They were laughing so hard they could barely contain themselves. "Just what you need, eh, Seth? It's the end of the road for you. We can't shoot you, we can't stab you to death, so we'll just lock you up. We'll never come back to this island again, and even a half-baked pirate like you knows this place is not on any sea lanes. No fishing boats, even. And right about now, your men have gone off looking for the wrong island. We're the only ones who know we brought you here. Not even our crews know where we are. Nobody's coming to save you, that's for sure. You'll be in here forever. Can't move a muscle, and you can't even die. All by yourself for the rest of eternity." With that, the men walked out of the cave, leaving me there with a single lantern. "Cowards!" I screamed. "Don't run off like that! Don't do this to me!" But the only response was the hollow echo of my own voice in the cave. The lantern the men left behind was not meant as a kindness, but rather the opposite. It was a prop in their little drama. When it finally ran out of oil and went dark, it would impress on me the weight of eternal solitude. As long as that lamp kept glowing, I was filled with rage for the men. When the oil was running low, and the flame began to flicker, a deep anxiety assaulted me. Unable to move, I stared blankly at the flame. Eternity. This world has no such thing. Or perhaps it should not have. Solitude. I was always alone. Or more precisely, I always ended up alone. It was my destiny. I could be surrounded by companions whose feelings matched my own perfectly. I could share the deepest love with another, but in the end, I would always have to lose them. Do you know what it feels like to see countless others succumb to death while you yourself are on the road of an endless life? But in your case, Anira, you do have some idea. As I watched, the lamp in the cave went out. A world of darkness spread out before me, and there I was, alone. No more would I taste the sorrow of parting, but neither would I be able to taste the joy of meeting, eternally, without end, alone. I did not try shouting. People shout and scream for one reason only, because they want someone to hear them, because they believe there is someone somewhere who will hear their cries. I did, however, shed tears. Which is not to say I wept. There is no way that the immortal woman pirate Seth Balmore would ever break down and cry. A tiny tremor went through the darkness. That is all it was. And then I noticed, oh, tears are coming out of me. Really, that is all it was. The hours passed, or perhaps it was days. In the darkness, I lost track of the flow of time. There was something else I lost track of. If all there was left for me to do was to stay by myself, struggling against eternal solitude and capable even of rotting away, then what was the purpose of my living in the world? Perhaps the men who trapped me here had been right. Unable either to age or die, perhaps I was some kind of monster. But then, why was such a monster living in this world? What was I supposed to do here? I did not know the answer to that. I would never know the answer, to the end of my never-ending life. I felt frustration, sorrow, but above all, fear. Eternity was frightening to me. Solitude was frightening to me. I might have been trembling, or without even the energy for that, I might have been utterly drained. Whatever it was I was feeling, that is when it happened. And Ira, that is when you first appeared before me. A tiny burst of light softened the darkness, and from the light, almost before I could wonder what it was, there came a voice. Are you too trapped in the prison of solitude? Who? Who is that? In the light, a flash of white wings. Then, the sudden increase in size and brightness, the light seared my eyes. Accustomed to total darkness, my eyes could not stand the glare, and for an instant, they could not see anything at all. Grimacing, I clamped my eyes shut before daring to open them, little by little. There before me hovered a pure, white, glowing beast. Its white wings were breathtakingly beautiful. How beautiful you were, Anira. But yours was not a florid beauty, no. It was subtly different. I'm gonna go with subtly different. Your beauty wore a cloak of loneliness. I am like you said, and when I cocked my head to look at you with puzzlement, you continued. I have been looking for someone like you for a very long time. You spoke slowly, majestically. Oh, immortal woman pirate, you and I share a single destiny. You knew who I was. Together, let us escape from this solitude and make our own way together. You said, your eyes locked on mine. Escape from this solitude. The words continued ringing in my ears, but I did not know who you were. I could not even be sure what you were, nor could I leap joyfully at the invitation of one who I could not tell as friend or foe. Who are you? I asked. I am Anira of the White-Winged Clan. White-Winged Clan? I had heard the name before. The White-Winged Clan were said to be wondrous beasts that had become extinct in the distant past. I have heard that the White-Winged Clan died out long ago. I am the last of the bloodline. The only survivor? Indeed, as I said, the last. Which is why you speak of solitude. At that point, almost before I knew it, a weak, almost self-mocking smile crept over my face. I felt myself lowering my guard as I spoke to you. My chains, however, were digging ever deeper into my flesh and shackling my heart as well. You used the phrase prison of solitude before. It's true, this is a prison. Being alone for eternity is a prison without bars. You nodded at these words of mine, Anira, in silence. But then you said, I was in a prison too, until just now. I'm sure it's true, to be the only living survivor. I have spent far too long a time alone. I know what you mean. In the legend, members of the White-Winged Clan are thought to live 1,000 years, but even if you were to live on for several centuries, As sole survivor, you could never meet a female member of the clan of the White Wing and hope to make children with her. The clan will never rise again. The sole survivor must live out the remainder of his days alone. Can they not interbreed? Is that not an option? I guess if they're white-winged, they might be birds, so it's a cloaca situation, but I don't know. In order to conquer this unbearable loneliness, he said, I would need someone to make her way with me. Is he suggesting exactly what I was suggesting? Then you looked hard at me and said, Oh, pirate woman, are you not of the same mind? I nodded in agreement. But then I made a point of smiling and said casually as I could, in other words, you're lonely. Your beautiful face softened, and you said with some embarrassment, I wonder. According to the legend as I have heard it, the clan of the White Wing are proud and love their solitude. This only increased your embarrassment, and you said, solitude has its limits. That did it. I decided to trust you then and there. Well, if that's how you feel, you should come right out and say it. I want company. Company? Alright, a companion. A companion? Exactly, so it's decided. I'll team up with you. That ended all hesitation. Just as you saw in me one to make your way together with, I put my full trust in you. Let's go wild on the high seas, I cried. Isn't that what make our way together means? Isn't that what make our way together means? You mean that I should become a pirate? You don't like the idea? You paused for a space of one breath and chuckled softly. I've always wanted to give it a try. No sooner were the words out of your mouth than you leaped at me. With one bite, you cut through the thick chain that held me down. O wondrous beast Anira, proud descendant of the white-winged clan, this was how you and I first met. In the 900 years since then, we raged over the open sea more wildly than I ever had before. When I stood at the prow of a pirate ship in search of prey, you were always there beside me. Pardon. We became irreplaceable partners, friends, companions, family. End. Jeez.
Captain. 泣いてる。
昔のことを思い出してたんだ。
海賊だった頃のこと？
泣いちゃうようなことなの？
ずっと海賊だったんだよ。泣いちゃったのはものすごく悔しいことがあったから。
Did she betray Anira? The village of the Kelolon.
Kaim! Oh, Kaim じゃないか。みんな、カイムが帰ってきたぞ。懐かしいな、カイム。全然変わらないな。
Okay. We're well known here. Oh, Sarah. Oh, is this the place where we lost, Liram? Okay. Guess those become useful later. I guess we're not at the highest point. The hero was home from the war. He had performed gallantly on the battlefield, advanced to the rank of general, made a triumphal entry into the village of his birth. The villagers welcomed him with a festive celebration. The grown-ups were treated to drinks beginning in the afternoon, and the children received sweet confections. The cattle and sheep in the pastures that supported the villagers' livelihood, whether because they were excited by the unusual commotion, or welcoming the hero in their own way, sent especially shrill cries reverberating into the blue summer sky. General, you are the pride of our village. Obviously full of pride himself, the head of the village thrust out his chest as he delivered his congratulatory address in the welcoming ceremony. To think that the foremost hero in the army came from this tiny village is so... That reads weird. That's not me, that's them. This one time, that's on them. To think that the foremost hero in the army came from this tiny village is so incredibly exhilarating and gratifying. I am sure our ancestors were overjoyed as well. The throng crammed into the village square burst forth with cheers and applause. Okay, that was me. According to the official figures released by the army the other day, General, you brought down at least 2,000 enemy soldiers with your own hand. A thunderous roar shook the square. Come to think of it, the population of this village is less than 1,000. This means, sir, that you managed to bury more than 2 of these villages worth on your own. How fortunate for us that you are not one of the enemy. If by any chance there had been a warrior of your caliber on their side, we'd all be resting in the hilltop graveyard by now. A few more of the women frowned momentarily at this remark, but the men, full of liquor, responded with an explosive laugh. Sitting stage center, the general lightly stroked his dignified beard. No one present knew that this was his habit whenever he was perplexed. When he left his village to join the army, he was just an ordinary soldier, a long way from growing a beard. General, you are truly the savior of our army, and indeed of our entire nation. I understand you will be leaving for another battle tomorrow, but we all hope that you will thoroughly enjoy yourself on this rare visit to your birthplace. The village chief ended his greetings and withdrew to the wings, whereupon the village's #1 entertainer bounded onto the stage in the most comical way he could manage. "Dear General," he cried, running over to where the great man was seated and going down on his knees. "Oh, hear my plea." The general looked at him uncertainly. "Is there any possibility that you would lend me the sword at your side, if only for a moment?" Perplexed though he was by all this, the general, impelled by the audience's applause and cheers, handed the man his tasseled and jewel-encrusted sword. The man bowed deeply as the sword entered his outstretched hands, and again he cried, "My gratitude knows no bounds!" Pretending to stagger under the weight of the sword, he came to the front of the edge of the stage and held the weapon aloft. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, I will reenact the event that raised our dear general's fame to the heights in a single bound, when he hacked 18 of the enemy into teeny tiny little bits." The audience cheered wildly, and the man, with exaggerated movements and commentary, swung the sword in a great arc. The audience knew exactly what he was doing. The general had not only made a name for himself for his strategic prowess, but was also widely acclaimed as a warrior on the battlefield. He did not rely solely on his weapons, but, in the end, leveled his opponents with a sheer physical strength. This, too, was a matter of the utmost pride for the villagers. "Here we go. 1 man down, 2 men down. Flip the sword back, 3 men down. 4th man slashed diagonally right through the shoulder. 5th man's head goes flying. Oof! Then 3 at once. 6th, 7th, and 8th man. What a bother! I'll just skewer you like this." The man thrust the sword through 3 imaginary opponents, and the crowd went wild. Pardon. The general, too, broke into a smile and applauded. When he was through clapping, though, he stroked his beard again. "I'm sure you can understand how I felt at the time, sitting up there on that stage," the old general says to Kaim before taking a sip of water from his leather pouch. His magnificent beard is completely white. So distant are the past events he is recounting. Kaim nods in silence, and the general continues, as if mulling over every word. "The more you know about war, the more you feel that way. I'm sure the villagers meant well. They just wanted to pay homage to their hometown hero. No, of course, they weren't being the least bit malicious. My village has the nicest people in the world, which is exactly why I found the whole thing so painful. I couldn't stand it after a while." Hacking 18 men to bits. The deeds of a hero are related in numbers. Surely the man who playfully swung the general's sword on stage that day could never have imagined the ones who lost their lives on the battlefield, the agonized expressions on their faces, the curse in their eyes as they stared into nothingness. But that's all right, too. People who live peaceful lives don't have to know about such things. That's what people like us are for. To keep their lives far away from the battlefields. Don't you agree? Thanks to us and our killing of enemies, the people we're supposed to protect don't have to know anything about the bloodiness of war. Unless you believe that, what's the point of people killing each other? Kaim says nothing in reply. Without either affirming or negating the old general's words, he stares vaguely at the general's troops. What did you say your name is? Kaim? I suppose you've killed more enemy soldiers than you can begin to recount. There is no way I could count them all. I thought so. You have a flawless build, the kind that can only be tempered on the battlefield. Only a man who has survived one battle after another can carry himself the way you do, with complete naturalness. How does a man like you find himself driving a horse cart over a mountain pass? Kaim is ready to leave without answering if the old man asks him such a question, but the general inquires no further into Kaim's background. Instead, there is a sense of relief in the smile he bestows on the sight of Kaim resting his horses at the pass. I was 16 the first time I went into battle. After that, I just kept running from one fight to another until I made it all the way to General. At first, I remembered the faces of the men I crossed swords with and killed. Even if you don't try to remember them, they get carved into your memory. I had terrible nightmares. And try as I might, I could never seem to wash off the stench of the blood that splashed on my face and hands. That was a hallucination, of course, but it got so bad once that I spent a whole night in a river trying to wash myself off. The general paused a moment to think about his story, then went on. But after a while, you get used to it. You get used to fighting and killing over and over again. Your body and your mind and your heart, you just get used to it. That's how people are. So I stopped having nightmares. I killed all the enemy soldiers I could lay my hands on, and I forgot every one of their faces. It's the same for you now too, Kaim, isn't it? Maybe so. It's like a curse. If you don't get used to it, your heart breaks. On the other hand, if you do get used to it, your heart probably ends up breaking someplace deeper down. The general cast a fond glance towards his resting troops, then slowly shifting his gaze far down to the foot of the mountain, he says, "So that's what it was like for me back then, when I returned to my birthplace in triumph." For the final event in the welcoming ceremonies, several children mounted the stage. And now, in honor of our hero, the children will present to the general a floral wreath more marvelous than the greatest medal there ever was. The audience went wild again. When the children put the wreath on his neck, the general favored them with a warm smile, the first honest smile from the heart that he had managed since climbing onto the stage. And finally, as a special treat for the general, who has been galloping from one battlefield to the next far from his native place, the children's chosen representative will read his own original composition, spelling out the joys of the peaceful life of the village. With a grim look of intensity, a small boy, barely old enough to go to the school, unfolded his composition and, gripping it in his two hands, began to read aloud from it, straining to make himself heard. First, I'm going to write about one of the nicest things that happened to me. At my house, we have a pasture with lots of cows and sheep. One cow had a baby 2 days ago. I helped my daddy by stroking the cow's back. With a handful of straw... Oh, god damn it. I didn't realize that was one sentence. I helped my daddy by stroking the cow's back with a handful of straw while she was having the baby. That makes the cow warm up, so it's easier for her to give birth. The baby was born just before the sun came up. It was a tiny baby, but it could already stand on its own legs. A baby. Wow. I'm gonna take care of this baby until it gets big. Dear little calf, hurry up and grow up, okay? The general had tears in his eyes. It was so shitty he couldn't stop himself from crying. Now I'm going to write about one of the saddest things that happened to me. That was when my grandma got sick and died. She was such a nice grandma. I know her sickness made her feel bad, but she was always smiling when I was around. She let me hold her hand when she died. I watched her face the whole time because I knew I wouldn't be able to see her anymore, and I wanted to remember her, even after I grow up. She just kept smiling and smiling for me, right to the very end. That's why she is always smiling when I think of her. Are you looking down on me from the sky, Grandma? I will never forget you as long as I live. Tears were streaming down the general's face. When the ceremony ended, the general left his village and headed for the town where army headquarters were located. There, he wrote a long letter to the king, and he gave his sword to his most trusted lieutenant. The general had decided to retire. Clearly it didn't take. This was as big a surprise to me as it was to anybody, but when I heard that little boy's essay, it occurred to me. What makes us really human is to celebrate each other. God damn it. What makes us really human is to celebrate each life that comes into the world and mourn each life that is lost. I didn't need medals anymore. I didn't need the honor of being allowed in the presence of His Majesty anymore. I wanted to be a real human being again. As a result, overnight, I went from being the village hero to being reviled as a traitor. The general turns to face Kaim and asks, "So are you going to mock me as a coward who ran away from the battlefield? Or blame me for being a deserter who betrayed his own patriotism?" Kaim turns a gentle smile on the old man. "Neither," he says. "As a soldier, you made the wrong decision, but as a human being, you made the right one." The general strokes his white beard and says, "My habit has changed too. Nowadays, I find myself stroking my beard when I'm embarrassed." The two men look at each other and smile. Then they were just pounding it. Pounding it. "Okay, back to work," says the general, standing with a grunt. He calls out to his troops, "All right, men, it's all downhill from here. Let's give it one more last push and get back to the village before sunset." The troops under the general's command consist of 30 sheep, not one of whom is likely to take a person's life. "Tell me, Kaim, are you planning to go back into battle at some point?" "I don't really know," he replies. "I'm content with herding sheep for now," the general says. "I don't have the least regret for the decision I made that day. It would make me happy to think that this could be a kind of lesson for you." At this parting remark, the general turns away from Kaim and begins walking. The sheep amble along after him in newly reformed ranks. Standing at attention, the general raises his right arm and waves his troops on. "Forward march!" The command he once delivered to the tens of thousands of men in the battlefield now echoes pleasantly among the mountains of his native village. End. All right. Ooh, 500. Here's the old sorceress Sarah. Oh, but if she's old, does that mean Sarah's not an immortal? Puppy. I guess let's see what that earth charm is all about. Well, it's only Kaim. Well, probably good to have. My kingdom for a slide button. I don't have a kingdom. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
ゴッツァロには私から話を通します。会ったことはありませんが、非常に老練で話のわかる方だとか。きっと鳥海流を越える船を借り受けられるはずですわ。
やっと人が追いついたってもんだ。
私の話聞いてます？
いや、まあいいじゃない。こんなところで固い話はさ。それより飲めないってのは本当なの？
え
だってあんた女王様だろ。パーティーやらなんやらでそのワイン飲んだりシャンパン飲んだりしねえの？
しません。
へえ、意外だね。まあでもまあ飲んでみなって。楽しくなるんだから。本当。大丈夫、毒じゃないんだから。アルコールが頭に回って記憶が戻るかもしれないぞ。
そういうものですか？
まあ飲めばわかる。さあ乾杯。
乾杯。
こんないいやつだけじゃダメか？
いえ、初めての味覚で戸惑っているだけです。
いや、なんなら無理しなくても。
いいえ、私だって早く記憶を取り戻したいのです。飲めないなどとは言っていられませんわ。
大丈夫か？
とてもほっこりしてきました。ヤンセンの言う通り、頭もふわーっと。
おい、
Jansen.
かわいい寝顔。 くりした。い
あんた何やってんだよ。
や何ってそりゃこれからのことを真面目に語ってたんだよ。
これから
つまりそのあれだよ、ゴッツァに話つけてたな。船を借りるって話。なんたってほらゴッツァは魔導産業革命が一番進んでるからすっげえ船が手に入るんじゃねえかってこうみたいなことを真面目にいろいろと。
一応信じてやるけど、ミンに変な真似したらただじゃおかないからね。
分かってますよ。俺なりに気使ってんだぜこれでも。
Well, first things first. Looting. Oh, they know about Sarah, so probably she's not the old sorceress. Ooh, Slotsy, fuck yes. I'm sorry, puppy, I shouldn't say the F word. Didn't I see a... Yeah, there we go, examine. It's a big-ass instrument. Everyone seems really chill with the fact that we just don't age.
いやー、カイム、本当に戻ってきたんだな。
懐かしいな。子供の頃の面影があるぞ。
いやよしてくれよ。もうすっかりおっさんよ。
そうは言うけどさ、なんかいい年の取り方してるじゃない。私タイプかも。
姉ちゃん、ありがとうよ。こいつは店のおごりだ。飲んでくれ。
気が利くね。じゃあ遠慮なく。
あんたがこの村を飢饉から救ってくれた時、俺はまだ7歳だったがね。あの頃村の子供たちの間であんたはヒーローだったんだぜ。
そんなこともあったな。なあマスター、俺たちはゴッツァに行きたいんだ。
Oh, this music sounds positively Final Fantasy VII.
ああ、無理無理。暗黒洞窟を抜けなきゃゴッツァには行けねえな。
封印されているそうだが、年老いた魔導士がやったそうだな。
何もビビることはねえさ。俺たちで封印をぶっ飛ばしちゃ済むだろ。
そう簡単にはいかないんだ。今まで腕自慢、魔導力自慢の連中がみんな挑んでみたけどびくともしねえ。どうやらあの封印を解けるのはあのじいさんだけみたいだぜ。相当な魔導力の持ち主だよ。
面倒なことに なあカイム。
もっと面倒があるんだ。お前さんが昔サラと住んでたあのうちな、じいさんがいつの間にか住み着いちまってるんだ。
あの家か。
So I guess Sarah wasn't immortal?
へえ、それじゃ勝手に？
あんたとサラがいなくなってから、俺たちはいつあんたらが帰ってきてもいいようにあのうちを開けておいたんだ。すまなかったな。今じゃあのうちじいさんのせいでぐちゃぐちゃだぜ。
構わんさ。探す手間が省ける。
そういう考えもあるか。
家を取られたんだから追い出しに行かないとね。
あんたなら大丈夫だと思うが、まあ気をつけてくれよ。
そんじゃ一暴れしてこようぜ。
あんたミンをこのままにはしておけないでしょ。
出発は明日の朝だ。
Just in case. Nope, nothing. Ooh, turtle shell. Piercing ring, bio ring. Looks like I can make it. Oh, okay. It's a weird gosh darn minigame. Let's see if that guy's still there. Yep, sure is. I guess there wasn't one over here. There wasn't one in the room, was there? Nope. And in the other room? Nope. There's a cat, though. Pretty sure I saw at least one in a home. Oh, and there's probably one up there, which I didn't go up there earlier. Oh, no. Right here. Don't think he had one up there. But whatever, I'll look. Nope, just another cat. Oh, you're just gonna block that, are you? Oh no, already got you. Gotta wait for them. Oh, he moved though. Cool. It's from 5 away. I've gotta be missing more than it looks like. Hmm, 4 away. What about over here? Hey, he moved too. And they've left that... Okay. If there's either 2 in there or 2 in the place above the ladder, we're saved. We're good. Okay. Oh, did you guys not even have one? You tricky little fucks. What kind of family doesn't have a... Oh, I see it now. I wonder if I missed any others like that. Okay, let's book it for that ladder. And let's hope it's got 2. Oh, come on. Let me up the ladder, you shits. I don't think I have enough time even if there are 2 up here. Nope, just the 1, so I've missed something. Not until I find that last one I'm missing. I feel like it should be down here somewhere. Wait, is the one I missed over here by the ladder? I just didn't go far enough? Yep. Okay. It's Spend another 5 minutes doing this after I use my new slot seeds. Oh, she has none. Oh. Great. Well, she's not a huge deal yet. Alright, let's do this prayer challenge dealy. Okay, Medusa's head. That sounds neat. Oh, okay. I did feel that rumble a few other places. I guess I have to pay more attention to it. I've nothing left to do but wait for you. Alright, guy, come on. Move, man. Get out the way. Oh, okay, there was somebody in here. And he's got weapons. Wait, his attack is 210? Maybe I should put him back in the front. No, we already have that. I don't really need it, but I'll take it. Ten's probably fine. This I might stock up a little on, though. I wonder if this is the place where I finally have to figure out what the hell the Kelolon status effect is. Let's go ahead and deal with these new items real quick. Oh, Jansen only, okay. I was gonna wonder if that was for... Ah, thank you. Good to know. So it's kind of like the frog status effect from like Final Fantasy IV. In there, talk to him. I was kind of half thinking I'd have to transform into Kelolon to do something. Which I think, again, happened in Final Fantasy IV. Oh, I should look at that Medusa head item. Okay, yeah, that's about what I would have assumed with a name like that. And let's see, does that mean I got both the treasures? Yep. And yeah. I do like these sections, I just hate reading aloud. There is no way to keep the village from becoming a battlefield. The enemy forces have crossed the northern pass and made their camp close by. The home forces are here too, sending out one unit after another into the village to resist the enemy's attack. The place is a powder keg. Ringed by mountains where two highways intersect, the village is a crucial focal point for transport. It cannot be allowed to fall into enemy hands, while its capture is essential to any hopes the enemy might have for victory in the war. Gosh, I've ruined that. Long years of fighting have come down to this one major battle. It is a battle that must be waged. The logic is clear, simple, inevitable, and it will transform this tranquil village into a battlefield at any moment. The army has ordered the villagers to evacuate. Non-combatants can only get in the way. The enemy wants to settle this before the weather turns cold. So what does that mean? Another month? 2 weeks? Got your stuff packed? No sense getting caught in the middle and killed. Talk about dying for nothing. Better forget about taking any pots and pans with you. Pack as light as you can and get away as far as you can. Think of all the generations our ancestors guarded our houses and land. I hate to think it's going to turn into a wasteland when the fighting starts. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just plain bad luck. That's all. We just have to hang in there until the war is over and come back when we find out who won. The main thing is to get out now. Right? It's all we can do. We've got to stay alive. Better not hope for anything more than that. Why the hell does this have to happen to us? The villagers leave a few at a time, beginning with the first ones to find temporary shelter. By the time the forest is lightly tinged with red, the village is practically deserted. The only ones left are old folks who live alone and have no one and no place to run to. The army has built a crude refugee camp for any evacuees able to cross several mountains to reach it. The aged poor stagger in with little more than the clothes on their back. The only one left in the village is Grandma Koto. The bread of Grandma Koto. This is a long way to go for the intro. I mean, a long intro to go for the title. As a mercenary, Kaim first met old Koto shortly after he joined the unit protecting the village. He was on an inspection round at the time when he spotted an old woman working in the fields. She turned out to be Grandma Koto. A soldier with him yelled at her, "Hey, old lady, enough of that." Another man shouted, "You'd better get out of here now if you want to stay alive. The fight's going to start in 2 or 3 days. How many times do we have to tell you to go to the damn refugee camp?" But old Koto stayed hunched over, digging in the dirt. Obviously, she was not harvesting anything. If this had been a time when the grain had ripened and she was hurrying to harvest her crops, it might have made sense. But she was just turning the soil, as if she had forgotten that a battle was about to start here at any moment. Is the old bag deaf or just senile? With a disgusted look, the captain called over to Kaim. "Hey, new guy, do something about this one. Drag her to the refugee camp if you have to tie a rope around her neck. We can't have her wandering around out here. She's just going to get in the way when the fighting starts." The captain's tone was arrogant. Man, that seltzer. Quite the amount of gas. The more cowardly a commanding officer is, the more arrogant and overbearing his style becomes, and the less he is able to conceal his nervousness when a battle is nearing. Kaim strode silently to the old woman in the field. "We'll go on ahead," the captain called out behind him, but he did not turn around. Only a few days would be needed to decide the outcome of the battle for this village, which was a reflection of how violent it promised to be. For this reason, working the fields now was pointless. Even the most carefully cultivated patch of ground would be crushed under the soldiers' boots. A harvest next year was out of the question, nor was it even clear how many years it would take to restore the village to its former tranquility. When Kaim approached her in the field, the old woman kept working and said, "Don't try to stop me." She looked and sounded much tougher than she had seemed from a distance. She might have been one of those stubborn, cranky old folks that people kept their distance from when the village was at peace. "You're not going to evacuate?" Kaim asked. "What the hell for?" she spat out. "They built a camp you can go to." Old Koto gave a snort and said to Kaim, "You're a new one. I've never seen you before." "Yes? So you don't even know what the camp's like. You soldiers have nothing to worry about." "What do you mean?" Old Koto said nothing, but pointed towards the steep mountain standing like a painted screen on the west side of the village. Kaim asked, "Is that where the camp is?" Jeez. "Hell no. You have to cross that mountain and another one to get to it. Nobody my age can walk that far. What's the point of building a camp in a place like that? How many old folks do they think are going to make it over there? They might as well leave us out in the hills to die like in the old days." Kaim was at a loss for an answer. Continuing her digging, the old woman grumbled, "That's how the government does everything." She was clearly angry, but perhaps less angry than sad. She then started screaming about the globalists and how the chemicals in the waters were turning the frogs gay. You're on an important inspection tour, right? Well, don't let me stop you. No, you see, you're not gonna get me to go any damn refugee camp. That's all there is to it. I'm not going anywhere. This is the village I was born in, and I've lived here all my life. I know how you feel, but this place is gonna turn into a battlefield soon. I know that. So then? So what? Kaim was at a loss for words again. When she saw that, she smiled and said, "You're a sweet young man, kind of unusual in a soldier." Her expression had softened for the first time. Once she stopped being so prickly, the smile she produced was actually rather endearing. When this place turns into a battlefield, people will die. Lots of them. I know that much, don't worry. But I have work to do, soldier boy. Telling me to leave my work and run away is like telling me to die. So if I'm gonna die anyways, and it won't be long now, I want you to let me do what I want to do. You shouldn't have a problem with that. Kaim fell silent, not because he was at a loss for words yet again, but because he believed she was right. If I'm gonna die anyway, she had said. Knowing that he would never be able to speak such words, he had no choice but to bow silently to her will. All right then, run along there, Sonny. I've got work to do. What are you doing now? See for yourself. Sorry, but I don't know much about farm work. Like all the other soldiers, old Kodo said with a smile. The only thing you people ever think about is killing enemies. You don't know anything about nurturing life. She let a hint of sorrow show again. Perhaps somewhat taken with Kaim, however, she favored him with an explanation. I'm planning siege, she said. Grains of wheat. You sow them in the fall, they mature over winter, shoot up under the spring sun, and turn the fields golden in summer. I always do my planting when the northern mountain peak turns white, every year, and this year's not going to be any different. Would the seeds mature in the trampled fields? Kaim had his doubts. Grandma Koto, however, displayed not the least anxiety or resignation as she scattered seeds in the newly turned soil. Her hands performed the age-old ritual with ease and naturalness, as if to impress upon Kaim the fact that she was doing this year, that what she was doing this year was nothing more nor less than what she had done every year before. Christ, I hate when I get caught up like that. As a result, Kaim's next words emerged with a smoothness that he himself found somewhat surprising. What if the seeds don't grow? Then I'll just do it again next year. And if next year's bad, I'll do it again the year after that. You have to plant the seeds. That's how I've lived my life. If you don't plant, nothing will grow. See what I mean? I think so. Whether there's a fight or not, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna do what I have to do. That's all. She spoke with certainty, her wrinkled face softening into a smile as she added, "You can't even enjoy a meal if you know you haven't done things right." You're saying that this is what gives your life its meaning? This is the question to which Kaim had long searched for an answer. For what purpose had he been born into this world? What was he supposed to accomplish here? He had continued to roam through his life's endless journey without knowing the answers to these questions. Indeed, because he didn't know the answers. I don't know about deep stuff like that, Ramakoto said shyly. I just mill the wheat I've harvested and bake bread in the fall. That bread is really special. Nothing tastes as good as the first bread you make with the wheat you grew that year. That's what my grandson looks forward to every year. I just can't decide to take a year off now, can I? I see what you mean. No, you don't, she declared. You're nothing but a damn soldier. Her face had turned hard again. There were no more smiles from her that day. When Kaim returned to the barracks, a soldier who had been stationed in the village for 6 months or more said to him, "That old bag hates our guts." "Because we've ruined the village?" "That's part of it, I suppose, but it's got deeper roots than that for her. Grandma Koto had lost her family to war. First her husband died in the war 40 years earlier, then her son and his wife in the war 20 years earlier, and now the one grandson they had left was taken to fight in the current war." "What's his unit?" Kaim asked the soldier. The man gave a helpless shrug and named a unit that had been sent to an area with the most intense fighting. "Talk about bad luck. The fighting's so bad out there, if it was me, I'd take my chances on being executed for deserting under fire. He's got maybe a 50-50 chance of coming back alive. No, maybe 30-70. If her grandson were to be killed, Grandma Koto would be all alone in the world. She would have no one to feed her bread to." "It must be tough to be left alone at that age," the soldier said. "Looking at old Koto, I can't help but think of my mother back home. There's no way I can let myself get killed. She'd never stop crying. Same for you too, eh, Kaim?" Kaim said nothing in reply. He had no right to put himself in the same category as this soldier. The battle started 3 days later. The enemy's attack was even fiercer than expected. The defense forces had no choice but to put everything they had into the fight. Kaim slipped away from the battlefront and headed for Grandma Koto's house. He found her leaving for the field as always. She gave no sign that she was afraid of the fighting. People who know exactly what they must do and who refuse to be distracted by anything else can be strong beyond all reason. Kaim saw now that there could be far greater strength in a finite life than in one that lasted forever. Because he sensed this so deeply, he stood before her, blocking her way. He lifted the tiny old woman in his arms and carried her back bodily to her house. "What are you doing? Let go of me. I'm not going to follow some soldier's orders. I have work to do." "Yes, I know that," Kaim said. "So put me down now." "I don't want to let you die." Holding her against his chest, he looked her in the eye and pleaded with her. I want you to bake bread again next autumn from a new crop of wheat." She stopped flailing her arms and legs in a vain attempt to get free of his grasp. She looked straight back at him as he said this. "As long as you have someone to feed your freshly baked bread to, I want you to keep baking bread year after year." Old Koto heaved a huge sigh and muttered, smiling, "I knew you were a very strange soldier." The battle raged on for several days. The arrogant, cowardly captain died in the fighting. The soldier who had told Kaim the story of Grandma Koto also died. Countless defense troops died, and countless enemy troops died. The village was consumed in the flames of war, and Old Koto's field was ravaged under the heels of the military. Kaim's side managed to stave off the attackers, then followed the retreating enemy to the north. All that remained in their wake was the empty, devastated village. The war ended as spring was giving way to summer. At the cost of massive casualties, the army repulsed the enemy's invasion. The village began to recover, little by little. As Grandma Koto had predicted, not one old person who crossed the mountains to the refugee camp came back alive. Autumn, and Kaim has come back to the village. He feels warm in the chest when he looks across the fields and spots Old Koto sowing wheat. So, she's doing it again this year, then next year, and the year after that, for as long as she is alive. She notices Kaim and crosses towards him with a welcoming smile. A year has passed. She seems to have shrunk somewhat with a year's worth of aging. "I haven't seen you for a while," she says. So, they didn't kill you. I'm glad to see you looking well, too. I heard you stayed near my house during the fight. You single-handedly fought the enemy troops to keep... enemy troops away from it. Kaim gives her a shy smile. How's your wheat? He asks. All ruined, of course. Worst crop I've ever had. A few scrawny stalks. Barely enough for one loaf. She tells him all this with surprising ease. Then she fixes her eye on him and asks, Have some? What? Bread, of course. I'll bake a loaf now if you help me eat it. Well, sure, but... Gotta wait. Grandmakoto sees through Kaim's hesitancy and says with a calm smile, Yes, he's dead, my grandson. I got word at the end of the summer. I was waiting and hoping, planning to bake him a loaf of bread as soon as he got home. When she sees Kaim hanging his head in silence, she adopts a spirited tone, as if she has to be the one to cheer him up. Come on, then. You eat what he would have had. It'll probably be tougher than usual, what with the wheat harvest being so bad. But I'm sure my grandson would be happy to know I fed my bread to the man who saved my life. So this woman has lost her entire family to the war. In other words, there is no one left to enjoy her bread. Still, she urges Kaim to wait just a minute while I finish this up, sowing the wheat for next year's harvest. She does it because that is what she has always done, because it is what she is supposed to do. Kaim stops himself from speaking the words, "Let me help," as he stands, staring at old Koto's bent back. In the glow of the setting autumn sun, she is sadly small and sadly beautiful. Kaim eats the fresh-baked bread. Old Koto was right. Made from wheat grown without its full measure of care, the bread is hard and dry and poor in taste. Still, of all the bread Kaim has eaten, and will go on to eat in his long, long life, this is by far the most delicious. End. I think I'm out of stuff to do here. Later, y'all. Oh, we're getting to about 2 hours, too. We'll see if this is a dungeon or just an event. But if I see a save point at the start, I'm assuming dungeon. Pretty sure it's just Sarah. And hopefully she won't be too pissed. Ghost! Like zoinks, Kaim. Let's get out of here. Soul medicine. I kind of gotta know what that is. Okay. So it's an elixir. Yikes! Doesn't that just leer him? Oh, yep. Save point. Well, for anyone here with me on Twitch, I'm going to take this opportunity to go grab some more water, something a little less fizzy probably. And if you're on YouTube, I will catch you next time. Catch you later. Bye.